Hello everyone, I am Hicks Harper, and this is Amateur Hour, and I'm finally back with day 4, and I had to do a second take of this because I got interrupted in the middle of it, and I'm like, God fucking damn it. So, here I am back again, starting from the top. But, anyway, sorry it took me so long to get to, finishing the first half of, my story for this particular class. Uh, Part of it was getting me to write. Another part of it was work, and Monster Hunter didn't help either. Uh, let's see. On top of that, I would want to give a shout out to Dr. Crow for inexplicably becoming a writing buddy who has uh, very much uh, shown his enthusiasm for what I'm doing and has decided to join along in it. So, good on you, buddy. And the other big thing is that I have finally nailed down which idea I want to write for my story, for my first graphic novel. Because it sort of came up, and then my brain exploded all over it, and things just kept falling into place one by one. And so I've got good idea of the characters. I have the story for the first book in my head and whatnot, and everything's just coming up green. And but yeah, I'm not gonna mention too much about what that is, but I will say that I'm gonna have my roommate help me make some Shadowrun characters just to get a good feel of reasonable parameters for what I'm gonna try to come out here. So that's gonna be really fun, and I have no idea. I have no idea how this is gonna turn out, but I'm excited nonetheless. But anyway, let's begin. And first off, we have, alas, alack, no composition book, so I can't comment on what stickers she put on it. Instead, we have this very poorly drawn school bell. Granted, I would not have drawn better myself, but we don't even get the clip art alarm bells that she was using for the last couple pages. But moving on. It's like, today we have some cool stuff coming. We have some guest professors. We'll talk about your midterms. We'll discuss some comics vocabulary and more. And now I asked you to write the first page with minimal guidelines. I did that on purpose. I want you to try things and see how they might have done with lots of experience. Then I asked to revise that first page. To make you feel better? In most cases, a revision will, especially with good, trusted friend involved, will improve your work. Not always, but most of the time. Going over stuff, don't panic. Here's what here's what you should do. This is how it's going to work, and how it will work how it actually works in the industry. Yeah, most of this is just like, hey, revising isn't completely tearing down everything and starting over. But, I mean, it certainly can, but there's this one comment here that, I was the absolute worst at this, referring to your editor giving you criticism and everything, and I had to learn how to handle it better. Now I am truly grateful for the advice of your great editors. Now, if I remember correctly, wasn't it in 2014 an editor was trying to call you and saying, hey, we need to talk about what you've been doing with this current story, and then you never got back to him? And he's like, hey, please, if you don't call me right now, you're off the book. And then you got kicked off the book, and then you sent your Twitter mob to figuratively burn him at the stake until you got your job back. So yeah, I can definitely agree that you were the worst at this. And now editors are too frightened to fully criticize your work, more than likely. Your work will get notes. That is not an affront to your talent or vision. I promise. And yet feedback is a hate crime. So your first homework today would be a good hard look at your first work. Don't punish yourself. Don't second guess everything. Say the dialogue out loud. Have Fred look at it. Then use these tips presented today to do a quick revision. It might be easier than you think. Let's see, and then there's some stuff about the roadblock box. I'm like, yeah, you're actually doing it. You're beating your roadblock box. Whoop-de-doo. Very proud and delighted. I was like, I can see growth from your springboards to your midterms. Been only going for 4 days. The industry is watching too. I've had a ton of friends and editors chime in, and they are too happy with what you're accomplishing. Let's see. Then she gets into, okay, which of these panel layouts is correct? We got just kind of a very standard Archie panel, and then you have this one here with Batwoman, 2-page spread, just kind of having the faint outlines of a panel just to help determine sequential art, and she didn't just copy herself through space and time suddenly. And it's like the art on this is pretty damn good. Like a little clustered, but hey, it works. And as she will say multiple times in this thing, nothing's wrong if it works. Let's see, and skipping more about that. Reading every single comic book you have, it's learning a lesson somehow, what you can or can't do, or what you probably shouldn't do. I remember reading one of Stan Lee's books, and they were saying it was, yeah, it's really, really hard to pull off a car chase in comics, so try not to do that. Like, like things just don't quite pop out enough, or at least, I mean, it could possibly work if you figured out how, but yeah, at the same time as one of those, like, yeah, try to avoid that if you can. Nothing's wrong if it works. Then she puts her own skin into the game and gives us 2 pages, one for a Wonder Woman thing she wrote recently, and another a earlier work of some sort. And it's like, oh, you have like 13 panels, big rolls, and staying out of your artist's way. But I want to comment something personally on these particular shots, because you got like, okay, this is pretty interesting. You got little girl here with a Mickey Mouse silhouette running towards a burning building. And she's like, oh no, she's got it. It's like, oh god, I hope she knows what she's doing. And they're like, hang on, I'm going to save you. And it's like, oh god, please work, please work. And then it works. And then we have this long freaking page, which is mostly congratulatory. Woo, you're awesome. Hey, let's go hang out. You want to go for a drink later? Then she's like, no, I got to do stuff. And it's like, yeah, she's Wonder Woman, goddammit. And then the last panel, you have this lady here is like, oh no, they're about to start the thing. Now, I want to bring up something I noticed here. With this page, you've got like, okay, interesting setup. And you got like a little bit of tension. I'm like, okay, is this going to happen? And then right here, it immediately stops. Whatever goes on from the next page after this, I don't care about. Like, I have no incentive to keep reading. It's just like, alright, so she went to go save the people, and then she saved the people. I mean, yeah, she could end up, like, talking to the fire department or Wonder Woman or something like that later. But beyond this panel, I don't care. Now, this has the exact opposite problem, where this whole mess of congratulatory woo happens. I don't give a single bit about that, but I have the one incentive to turn the page because they're about to announce her. And then it's like, oh, okay, I want to see the announcement. So I will turn the page. And so thank you, Gail Simone, for bringing up two panels or two pages that have the exact opposite problems. So, but yeah, I'm learning a lot already. It's like 14 characters, all this stuff. Nothing's wrong if it works. Let the artists do their job. As a special faculty member, as a special treat, I asked faculty member Tom King to speak a little about writing for an artist. He gave a bit of the smartest advice I have ever heard. P.S. He was drinking in the boys' room with the upperclassmen and has been punished by having to write Lobo. Just why? Fucking why? Honestly, I would have punished Tom King for how downhill his Batman run was getting. But whatever. I'm not to. Always focus on your artist. Find out what they do best and let them do it. Let them dictate how you tell the story. Write to make a beautiful comic from a compelling comic will naturally emerge. Which is pretty sound advice. I am not going to deny that. Cater to your artist's specialties, provided you have a story that would cater to the art. So if you know someone, or if you look at someone's artwork and are really really good with like cyberpunk type stuff and whatnot, like give them a cyberpunk story. And if they say, "Oh, I really am really bad at drawing," I was like, "I'm really bad at drawing animal people." It's like, okay, I'm going to avoid drawing my furry medieval fantasy adventure with this person, or whatever. I don't know, but that's it from Tom King. Brilliant. I like his comics, or at least when they don't suck. Okay, keep all that in mind. Now we talk about how you actually write your script. I wanted to write half of it without the guide ropes. Remember that these are suggestions and are just guide ropes. Nothing's wrong if it works. If you write a simple script and it punches hard, that's fantastic. If you write a complex one and it lingers, that's great. At the end, I asked for some editors, give tips to new writers. It's excellent stuff. And let's see, the rest of this paragraph here is about having a decent place. It's like whether you need no interruptions, or if you need music playing, or if you need certain objects and whatnot by your side. It's just make sure you're in a decent mental space and physical space for writing. And these things give her strength even when you're not looking at them. So we got this statue of Raiden, who... Is it just me, or does the face look more like a middle-aged woman cosplaying as Raiden? I don't know. It just looks kind of weird to me. Then we got Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey with pictures of people. Hi, Ultraman, Godzilla. That's a pretty... No, that's not Ultraman. Idiot. That's Jet Jaguar. Jet Jaga, Yatani Jaga. And the badass Godzilla statue. Nice. Alright, now you have done your springboard. You've done your outline. You're ready to start. You've made big choices here. Full script or Marvel method. These two methods are used by the mainstream writers in comics. You may have heard of them, but briefly, full script is when you break down everything, like what I do. And, fuck off. The Marvel method is more of, alright, you'll give your artist a general, like, very broad strokes of, like, okay, you're gonna have, like, I was like, these characters are gonna, on page like 6, they're going to start fighting the bad guy, and blah 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 blah, and then you add the dialogue after the art has been penciled in and whatnot, which I honestly don't think I could really do that method. I have way too much of the story in mind, and how to and just trying to break it down individually piece by piece. Now, granted, if my artist has a slightly better way of portraying what I'm going for, then by all means do that. But like, as long as it's within the same general direction that I was shooting for, that's all I care about. Let the artists do their job, after all. Yeah, a lot of artists love the Marvel method because it gives them a lot more freedom to work with. And I just keep thinking, like, if I want to do a Sean Baby article, it's like have a bunch of art drawn and then just take the piss out of it with the dialogue, like just having thing being like, I just shat in a canoe today, and Invisible Woman's like, good job, and then the next panel, you know, Doctor Doom is cursing at them through some surveillance tech he has, and it's like, I won't let you steal my breath mints again, and why am I talking like Skeletor? Now, I'm not going to break down every possible method of writing comic script, as stated in previous lessons, but everyone's different. As for your exercises today, check out this resource, which I have loaded up here. And honestly, I'm definitely going to take a look at this a little bit more, especially see how some of the more ideologue writers like Miss Kelly Sue DeConnick, especially since there's 2 issues of Bitch Planet here, and I'm like, oh, I kind of I kind of want to break into that and have some fun there. I'm going to leave the link in the description so you can have some fun too if you want, or find out how good people write their comics like Neil Gaiman. But anyway, moving on. They have a lot of methods. Pick one that makes sense to your brain and follow it. Chuck Dixon's scripts are lean and tight, include all the needed information. Matt Fraction's script shows a surreal book written expertly. So, your homework today, part 1, revise the first 4 pages in some way. And your exercise is look at at least 3 scripts on this page. You don't have to read them all, but look and see the format. But remember. And I mentioned it before, but The Art of Comic Book Writing by Mark Neese is an absolutely invaluable book if you want to start writing your own stuff. Because that's how I learned. And I have 0 problems with that format whatsoever. Here are some terms that may come up in your script. Grid. This is a fairly simple, even page layout. 9 grid is something seen in many pages of Watchmen. Gutters, space between the panels. The stack. These are horizontal rows of panels on a page. Establishing shot, you know this. After image shows movement like the Flash showing multiple poses. The same character. Although with the normal after image, like the after image is a lot fainter. With that Batwoman shot you mentioned earlier, like those were all fully detailed. And yeah, you had to put a little bit of like something to indicate like a separate panel or whatever, just to be like, this is just what happens next. This is just what happens next. FX or sound effects? Sound effects. Tailless. This is a dialogue balloon without a tail. Unclear who said it. Crowd scenes. Caption. Balloon or narration dialogue does not attribute to character on the panel. I've never seen it written as thought. And like a thought balloon, less common these days. So even in comments, it's be gone, thought. But yeah, I have no objection to thought balloons or whatever. Although I did scrap the one I had in my first page and just made it a narration caption instead. But still, I don't really have a problem with thought balloons if you think POV, point of view. No, to the honest, expressing where the camera should be, worm's eye, POV, crane, middle distance, bird's eye are all common. Two shot, just characters focusing on their interaction. Close up, it's the close up. Vast majority of panel descriptions now. Commonly in comics, bold and italics are available for both caption and dialogue. Feel free to use them. They really spotlight where the inflection goes. Don't worry, we're getting close, and you actually have good ways, but whatever. They can get a lot more complex, but you can reproduce it in almost any comic with just the vocabulary I've listed. Now we have our space and our vocabulary. Now we talk a little bit about style and craft. You do not have to know every panel and every bit of dialogue before you start. No, you don't. And I will, I will talk about a little bit of stuff that I had to think about with this when I actually read over the script for the video. You should know, what is my story saying? What is my protagonist's challenge or conflict? What is my resolution, if any? Let these questions be your GPS. It'll be easy to expand on details. It's easy to expand on details that don't matter. You can follow part characters down a rabbit hole forever. What's the first universal tool? It's focus. And then focus on your story. Focus on your... Okay. No, that I don't want that to get gross. Focus on your theme. My themes. Your theme is a human truth your story discusses. It shouldn't be preachy. It shouldn't be preachy. Which is really funny coming out of someone like you and all of your ilk, which has been nothing but progressive progressive pummeling over everyone's head with your fucking politics and whatnot. It's literally most of the stuff that has been coming out these days has been propaganda and nothing but meant to just sell to librarians because fuck the consumer. There should be a point. Let that be your trail of breadcrumbs. Look at your midterms. Did you convey a character with impact? I would like to think I did. Is a theme boiling underneath? Probably. It's like, oh, did I present a challenge or conflict? Yes. Yes, there is. Absolutely there is. Or at least, guy about to fight a Wendigo. Oh boy. Folks, this is what writing is. You do it when you create a D&D character backstory. You do it in doodles, even. Tell a story that means something to you. Superhero, robot, it doesn't matter. I would say this doesn't really mean anything to me. I mean, this is my first time attempting to write horror, but, that doesn't necessarily mean too much to me, but I enjoy it. I'm writing this for fun, and I'm recording videos about it for fun, so I guess means a little bit, but not really like too much this is by no means some master thesis on the human condition or anything. Recognizable human reaction is the goal. None of us can fly like Superman, but we've all ridden a vehicle that went fast. Most of us have jumped into a lake. Take that feeling, that childlike feeling, I have experienced this, and put it on the page. That's writing. You felt something, and you should extrapolate it. Excuse me. You make it bigger. You fictionalize it. Now the reader feels the same thing. Okay. Here's your final assignment, and you get 2 days to do it. Finish. No lesson tomorrow. I want everyone to have plenty of time. Revise your midterms, small or large. Write the second half. Go read the scripts. I'm going to end class, and then I'm going to add a couple photos of Wonder Woman page I showed before. You do not have to use my format. It's very simple, easy to follow one. I developed as many artists who do not speak English. You've all come so far. Remember, this is an attempt. Finishing this teaches you vastly more. Okay, finished project, whatever. Funny how she usually had the handbell at the very beginning, but now it's at the very end. Oh boy, one final graduation. Okay, more stuff about the Discord. And then she has a couple of pictures from her, or like from the page she just did. And one thing I just kind of want to comment on this is, this was obviously taken from her phone. Granted, I'm guilty of taking a picture off of something from my computer with my phone, but that was usually something small that didn't consume the entire page, so just doing a print screen would have probably been a lot easier, unless you had something in the very tiny background that you really wanted to hide. But let's see. But yeah, let's see. Okay, one of the big themes in the story is booked on the previous Star Blossom. Already starts in the early evening. Okay, overall general overview of what's going on or what's going to happen. And then she starts breaking down everything here. Page 2, like panel 4, blah, blah. Yep, okay. We don't need that anymore. But yeah, definitely use just... if it's going to take up the whole computer screen, just print screen it. Alright, so that was slightly less cringy than some of our other stuff. So now let's get into the more cringy thing of my script. And I apologize for the very right end, as well as like some stuff on the very bottom. The last panel on this page doesn't even show up on the screen. So what I'm going to do is just enter a bunch of times so I can actually show it off. There we go. I can't fix the stuff on the right, but alright, so I didn't really change too much from the first page. A lot of interior shots. You just hear the sound of him sharpening his blade and whatnot. I'm not gonna let that thing, and then you hear the monster roar fill out the entire room. So, page 2, panel 1. Ajax and a band of other adventurers having a toast in a tavern. All of them don't have to be fully in frame, but the party consists of 5 people. Most of them can be whatever you want, but the one that'll be more featured than the rest is a female spellcaster, E for future reference. Caption 1 week earlier. Like, tomorrow we travel and slay the Frost Tyrant. Hear, hear! Clank. That'll do. Ajax noticing someone talking to him mid-drink. He's a big, burly captain of the guard type. It's like, I wouldn't bother if I were you. In fact, I'd pack my things and go anywhere else. Ajax proudly gesturing to his companions. While the guard interrupts him, looking unimpressed. Like, nonsense! The Frost Tyrant stands no chance against the mighty Ajax and his trusted companions. After all, we'll You don't get it, kid! Close up of the guard's sullen expression. After 5 years, the Wendigos are making their rounds on this side of the mountain again. Just one near the town leads to sleepless nights as it stalks a hapless victim in the wilderness. Ajax acting somewhat indignant as the guard points at him, not having any of it. We were told this is the fastest way to the summit. You can't just expect us to. The fastest way up the mountain is wherever they're not, boy! I'll say his guard signature. This is my final warning. Sound effect creak of the chair. And then the adventurers tracking up the snowy mountain a day with their packs and traveling gear. You will not be mourned. Then, page 3, Ajax pointing out to the trail with his thumb, like, I gotta drain the wizard. Which, yes, I totally stole that line from Spoonie's Lords of Magic video. But it was It was the best thing I could really just come up with, uh, at least for the sake of finishing this. Ajax adjusting his clothes, having finished pissing, and standing by a tree. The weather is suddenly 1,000 times worse, with the wind blowing and howling, and snow piling up, as the party members are just shadowy blurs some distance away. Triangulating with Ajax and the party is another amorphous, shadowy figure. And I was like, there we go. Blowing wind. Like, originally I had a different idea of how he sort of ends up getting split. Like the weather gets worse, and then he's just like looking around. I was like, wait, guys, where'd you go? But I figured, like, no, the Wendigo should just be the source of all of his problems. So it shows up, screams, and I was also thinking like, oh, have like a wolf suddenly attack his backpack while he was lost in the wilderness. But that would take a lot of more panels and whatnot, and I don't have a lot of pages. So it turned out just like I'm just gonna make him completely fail his will save and just throw off his backpack as he's fleeing like a little bitch. Let's see, over the shoulder shot of Eve as she looks towards the shadowy figure of Ajax running towards the trees. Ajax! Much later in the day, getting dark, as Ajax is shivering and wandering through the woods, slightly embarrassed about what happened, and crunching of the snow. And then he finds the cabin from the first page. It's like, oh, thank God. And then this page, I'm not too proud of, but at the same time, I like how he ended it, at least. So, alright, so panel 1. First person view of Ajax opening the door into the cabin. Old man is sitting there, dead. Large pile of firewood by the fireplace. Everything in the cabin is untouched. Hello? Putting his hand on the man's shoulder. Excuse me, sir, you... Pulling his hand back. Looking kind of disappointed. Oh, you're dead. I guess I'll leave you be. I can only hope you left some food behind. And then I split this panel into just 3 mini panels of him just searching around looking for food. It's like, spoiled. No, damn it all. 5. A slightly romanticized version of Ajax's backpack overflowing with food. Rations, bread, jerky, whatever else. Like, God, I completely lost my head back there. How could I have been so foolish as to not leave my backpack behind? Aside from my supplies, I had more than enough food to wait this out. And reaching for the door handle, it's like, maybe the monster lost me. I could just run back, and then you hear the sound again, and it just immediately cuts to putting fire in the fireplace and just putting wood in the fireplace and being like, well, staying inside it is. So, I'll just go ahead and... Alright, and page 5 I will start eventually. But, well, this has been fun so far and relatively harmless, but thank you all for watching. I will get back to you with the fully completed story whenever I get around to finishing it. And I hope you all have a splendid day.